There's this quiet crisis happening right now in bedrooms all across America and, frankly, around the world. People are having less sex, a lot less. And it's a trend that cuts across the board: single, married, young, old. So what is going on here? What's really behind this huge drop in intimacy?
That's really the big question, isn't it? Our source material for this explainer suggests we're in what they call a full-blown sex recession. And believe me, the reasons behind it are way more complex than you might think. So let's dive in and take a look at the data. Okay, to get a sense of just how big this is, get this statistic. According to the data, a staggering 1 in 3 American men said they had zero sex in the past year. That is a massive, massive portion of the population. And it's not just men. Not at all. The numbers for women are really significant too, with 1 in 5 reporting the exact same thing. So this isn't some small niche problem. We're talking about a huge cultural shift that's affecting millions of people. This phenomenon has gotten so big that researchers actually gave it a name: the sex recession. It's basically a major global downturn in sexual activity. And while it does affect everyone, it's hitting the younger generations, millennials, and especially Gen Z, the hardest. So the obvious question is, why? What's causing this widespread disconnection? Well, it's not just one thing. It's more like a perfect storm of different factors that have been brewing for decades. And this didn't just happen overnight. The trend really started creeping up about 30 years ago. But look at that sharp turn right around 2012. That's when things really took off, especially for young men. And think about it. That's right when the oldest members of Gen Z were heading off to college, a time you traditionally think of as a peak for meeting people and, sexual exploration. The source material really breaks down the causes into 3 big buckets: what they call technological traps, some possible biological pressures, and, of course, major shifts in our society and culture. You put them all together, and you get this really complex web that seems to be pushing people apart instead of bringing them together. So first, let's talk tech. The source points to these super easy access to pornography, which can create what it calls sexual lethargy. I mean, why go through all the effort and potential rejection of pursuing a real partner when gratification is literally just a click away? At the same time, you've got social media, which can make people feel worse about themselves, more isolated, more polarized, which doesn't exactly make you want to go out and connect in the real world. Then there's this really interesting and maybe kind of scary biological angle. The source brings up research on things like environmental toxins and endocrine disruptors, chemicals in our food or water or plastics that might actually be lowering testosterone levels in men. This suggests it might not just be a social problem. Our actual hormones could be playing a part in a lower collective sex drive. And now we get to the socio-cultural factors. According to the source material we're looking at, social shifts like the #MeToo movement have made some men more fearful of approaching women, worried they might say or do the wrong thing. The source also presents the argument that some DEI, or diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, may have inadvertently made certain men feel penalized, which just adds to that hesitation. And what's the outcome of all this? Well, according to the source, these pressures have created this really polarized mating market. What that means is a small group of men at the very top are having lots of success, while the vast majority of younger men are really struggling to find any partners at all. Okay, so if real-world connection is getting harder and harder, where are people turning? This leads us to a pretty fascinating and maybe a little unsettling development: the rise of AI companions. And when you look at it this way, you can kind of see the appeal. I mean, real human relationships, they're messy, they're complicated, they require a ton of effort. An AI partner, on the other hand, well, it can be programmed to be perfectly agreeable, totally predictable, and 100% focused on you. No arguments, no compromise, and absolutely zero chance of rejection. For someone who feels shut out of the dating world, that can sound pretty good. And this is not science fiction anymore. It's happening right now. In the source, neuroscientist Dr. Debra Soh talks about a conversation she had back in 2018, and she admits she just didn't believe people would ever choose AI over a real person. But as she says here, wow, this is exactly where we are now. The future got here way faster than anyone thought. Now, I know this can all sound pretty bleak, but the source material doesn't just point out the problem. It also offers up some advice for people who want to reconnect. So let's take a look at their proposed path back to intimacy. The source suggests a kind of holistic reset aimed particularly at men. It's this multi-front approach to just rebuilding your personal well-being. It starts with the physical stuff, cutting out ultra-processed foods, getting more active. Then it's about a digital detox, suggesting something like a 30-day break from pornography to kind of reset your brain's motivation for a real-world partner. And finally, it's about getting your life in order, creating a stable routine, limiting your screen time to get out of that social media vortex. The idea is that each step builds on the last to create a solid foundation for better health, both mental and physical. Now, for women, the advice offered in the source is a lot more direct, and it's framed in a biological argument. The idea is, in response to men being more hesitant to approach, the suggestion given is to be super obvious with your interest, and specifically, to smile. The source material argues that men are biologically wired to be attracted to a smiling face, and that in this confusing landscape, it acts as a really powerful and clear signal of invitation.
And all of this brings us to one last really big question to leave you with. As technology gets better and better at offering us these flawless, programmable, perfect digital partners, what does that mean for the future of messy, unpredictable, but ultimately real human connection? It's definitely something to think about.